Hi, everybody. Lisa Michaels here, and I have the good pleasure today to be talking to soul guide Sandy Combs. And really, Sandy has just been doing some amazing things with this work, helping people in a lot of different ways. I mean, she's really good at creativity. I mean, like it spills out all over the place wherever she walks. She's so creative. But she's also really good with highly sensitive people. She's trauma informed, so she's able to help people who, may have been really struggling. So, welcome, Sandy. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm really thrilled that you get to share with us today.
Oh, Lisa, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, great. So, let's start with your creation team journey and kind of really first learning about it and sort of what has unfolded for you in your personal journey.
Sure. So, when I first was introduced to the creation team work, I was blown away for one reason. I have a lot of expanded fire archetypes, and I also have a lot of deep water. And throughout my life prior to meeting you in this work, I would go real wide out and real down. So depressive and almost a state of mania, like I could just go and go. And,
Mhm.
I was told more than once that there was something clinically wrong with me. And, that was so wounding, but yet there was still this voice inside of me that was like, no, I'm not going to buy into that. I believe that there is something I can learn.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so just walking my path and being introduced to your work, and the first time we went through the creation team, tears of such relief
Mhm.
just washed over me because it explained everything. And it also confirmed that I was exactly who I was created to be.
Wow. Wow. That's great. That's great. And so what do you think are some of like the biggest realizations you've had with your creation team? I mean, first of all, expanded fire and deep water, that's a lot of integration right there. But, how has the whole team, I mean, we know there's 8 key players, but not everybody does. And one of the main ones for women, I mean, and certainly for everybody, but for women especially, is really getting in touch with the inner feminine. So, what was that journey like for you?
Well, it wasn't always easy. I have I have to say that. And my feminine and masculine are in the same archetype. So
Mhm.
not only did I not really have a personal relationship to my inner feminine, or let's just say I wasn't keen on having a relationship with the feminine at all. So I had a lot of resistance that I had to work through. But
Mhm.
ultimately, little by little, working with this body of work and, the discoveries that I found along the way were always so powerful and grounding that it gave me the sustenance to keep doing the work that I needed to do.
Mhm.
And by bringing in and really getting to know my inner feminine, not only has it improved the quality of my life, the management of my energy, but it has improved my marriage
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
my relationship to others.
Nice. And I want to just say, for anybody who's listening that's not really deeply familiar with the inner feminine, that she is so key for women because if they're operating out of just their inner masculine, now we want to use our inner masculine and work with them, but if we're primarily mostly coming from that aspect of our creation team, we're likely to burn out. We're likely to feel frustrated. We're likely to feel, like there's not enough depth in what we're doing or enough. of soul is really what I want to say, that it just feels a little too outer world oriented. And a lot of women get hungry for this aspect. But there's another thing that for women, the inner feminine really does. And we call her the focalizer because she helps to bring the whole team into focus. And if she's not on board, if she's not operational, if she's not being heard, then it's kind of chaotic in there. Like there's not enough, like, here's what we're going to do and here's how we're going to do it, because she's not functioning in the role that she really needs to be in. So sometimes there's a lot of power struggles. And I'm going to just use your example, Sandy, of the expanded fire and the deep water. I mean, there can be a power struggle with, do we expand or do we like deal with the depth of these feelings?
Mhm. Yes, absolutely.
I'm sure you've dealt with that a lot. And I know you've been working with clients with their creation team for a while. So what do you notice most kind of when you're working with your clients around their creation team? What seems significant?
Um, right off the bat, just introducing them to their inner feminine often it's like they just begin to like finally that someone is there and listening, and she has the opportunity for voice.
Mm, mm,
And she just lets go. And
mhm,
it's very interesting, but I've had recently several clients who have had major life struggles um,
mhm,
with and they didn't know why. They felt like they just couldn't do relationships.
mm.
Relationships just didn't work for them. And just tapping into that inner feminine and masculine aspect of themselves, the light bulb went on. And I mean, I just recently had a client say, "You have just shown me the conflict of my entire 65 years on this planet."
Wow.
And
Wow.
tears were just like, she was just, she didn't even have words for like the relief that she found. Like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
wasn't broken.
Mm. And that's a huge thing to understand. I mean, when you can really relate to the that you are dealing with an archetype and not a personality defect, that's huge. It's just
Absolutely.
really huge for people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think in our society, often imbalanced archetypes are mistaken for mood disorders, and we want to
Yes.
slap a medication on it, and the problem never gets dealt with.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm gonna use an example of a client I had years ago who was dealing with depression. And first of all, and the more we worked with her creation team and her really understanding the elements, the more she saw that it wasn't depression. It was actually that she had deep water, Scorpio, as what she'd come to learn. So what she did was started really doing something, and I'm going to say what it was in a second. She started doing something where she could really run her life force and really claim that depth. She started belly dancing, and it changed everything. And I had another client who had deep water as both his inner feminine and his inner masculine. And when he started doing shamanic art, everything changed for him, because it is that tapping into, for that archetype, tapping into the things that a lot of times in our culture are like, we don't go there.
Right. Right. Exactly that.
And I know you help people too with their creativity. And I just want to say that painting behind Sandy, and I don't know about the one in the doorway, Sandy, but I know the one straight behind you is yours. Is the
Mhm.
other one yours too?
Yeah.
I mean, this woman can paint, and she has a way with creativity that is just magnificent. Talk about and when we're dealing with the creation team, we've already established that we're dealing with the elements first of all, and then how they subdivide into three. But what is really important to understand is that these are the elemental forces of creation. So anything you're creating, the elements can really help you with that. So tell me about that whole thing in relation to creativity for you.
Sure. So when I lead someone through a creative process, myself included, I will always go through the four elements.
Mm,
It's like I activate the canvas and my creation as a sacred body of work, sacred
nice.
project. And so there are times that I literally go out and get earth and I
Mm,
embed earth into my canvas.
sweet.
And as we paint, because it is the act of creation, and especially when we call in the elements, there will be questions that will arise.
Mm,
And for my clients, for my, people participating, I usually have some pre-planned questions that often arise. And
mm,
so we will pause between the elements and we will go deeper into our creative process, which ultimately we are the biggest creative act of art of our lifetime, right? Our
yes.
life is the canvas of our soul. So
Yes.
for people that don't consider themselves artists,
Hmm.
they are often the most amazed by powerhousing with these archetypes or the elements and letting the element come through them onto the canvas.
Mm,
And
mm.
so as we move through and we bring in the water element, people will often find themselves painting just primitive marks and they're like, this makes no sense, but it feels so good. And
Just,
it really activates the entire process. And
mm,
what I discover is not only do people walk away with something that is symbolic of where they're at in their life, with guidance and a focus, they
mm.
end up with a piece of art that they can actually hang in their altar or their home and interact with it long after the class is over. So
Beautiful.
it's a living body of art.
Oh, oh, it's so juicy. I love it. 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 Well, I know you've been, as I said, you've been working with clients for a while now, and your journey to become a soul guide, to really take what you know from the archetypes, from yourself, from your own experience, and then hold space for other people to see about their creation team, to understand about their creation team. What would you say to somebody who is maybe like, is this something that I want to add into my work, or is I want to use as a springboard for what I'm going to do next in the world? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, the short answer is do it. What I love about this body of work is you can be an accountant, you can be a doctor, you can be a hairdresser. It doesn't matter because the elements are creation itself. This body of work will take wherever you are and whatever you do, and it will dimensionalize it. It will expand not only you, but your work and all of your relationships. You will understand your world in a much richer, embodied, soulful way.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So if you're thinking about like how do I even begin? What do I do? I'm going to recommend the your Soul Prosperity Code book if you want to understand the elements themselves more. There's an oracle, there's another book called Nature's Creation Alchemy. There are beginning classes that the soul guides offer, like Sandy. And there's trainings, there's just so much. There's some things that are self-guided. There are programs that you can do in person and live. You can go do a painting class with Sandy. You can get a soul guide reading from Sandy. I mean, there's so many ways to get started. And what would you say around that for somebody who's trying to sort out what's the best thing for them to do?
Well, I would recommend two introductory things just to dip your toes in. The first is the new book, which mine is upstairs. I was reading it this morning briefly, Prosperity Soul Guide. Oh my gosh, it's so juicy, this whole body of work. And the other thing is, I would order the Elemental Oracle Forces of Creation,
Mm,
because you can, in as little as 5 minutes in a day, you can get powerful insight and begin to see what this work can do for you
mm.
just by pulling a card.
Yeah, yeah. Because those core teachings, they're alive and they just continue to inform you. And I think I should say this too, because I'm not sure it's been said enough. These are living forces of creation, and they really will meet you where you are, and they will help to develop your consciousness no matter how much you've worked with them. I mean, Sandy, are you still getting insights from the elements every day?
Yeah, so much so. And I just have to say that when I began this body of work, my inner feminine that we spoke about earlier was just laying in a pool of grief.
Oh,
And I had no idea because I didn't do grief. It was beneath me. And so this body of work at every stage, like I would re-enter the container.
mm,
And it literally took me from this wounded inner child to a very independent, fully functioning individual who is in the process of really deeply receiving alchemical guidance now. Now
mm,
it's like the fine tuning, if you will, of how does Scorpio, this deep water, impact my Leo fire moon? Like, how are they working together? What
right.
can they do together better? And
Yeah.
so absolutely this work, I will do this work until I am no longer on this planet. It is that life-giving.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I totally agree. It has enriched my life beyond belief. And I said in I think it was the interview with Melody that water is just one of the biggest trainers. I mean, the emotional development that comes from water. Water was really one of my hardest teachers. I mean, honestly, it was. And so anybody who feels a little overwhelmed with your emotions, or like you don't quite understand how to navigate them, and any way that you feel like you need more emotional safety. I didn't even understand what that was when I started working with the elements, but water really just kept working with me. And I know water's worked with you a lot too, Sandy.
It has.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was never uncomfortable with my emotions, but because of the fire, I was very dramatic
Mm, mm,
and expressive to the point that I actually frightened other people, um,
mm,
especially persons that were not as comfortable in the watery element.
mm,
And so, really learning how to, first of all, when and where and how deep to go,
mhm,
being able to
mhm.
gauge that in relation to whatever I'm doing or whoever I'm with, as well as how to pull that fire in. It doesn't always need to be a raging forest fire,
Right. So
right? Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
true.
So, and I'll be really honest, I have a pretty decent handle on that, but I consciously choose and work with that daily.
Yeah, 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 yeah. To me, that's one of the most important things, is because when you start really working with the elements and the archetypes, you start to see how to consciously work with them. You start to see what those learning edges are and where you need to shape how you show up or how you manifest or what your call to prosperity is, because that's, a huge part of what we're doing here with Soul Guide is this navigation of life purpose with prosperity. You really start to have this deepening way of how you hold yourself in the world.
So true, Lisa. And that has been a real big eye opener because I came from a pretty materialistic, if you will, like a go out and get mindset. And I came into the world, the working world, and the pedal was down full on the gas, the gas pedal, and I was just go, go, go. And as I began to really learn about my archetypes and my elemental makeup, some of my archetypes really don't like a lot of things. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need nearly as many possessions
Yeah.
as say someone else might. For me, it's experiences.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. That makes so much sense. So, is there anything? I have just loved this conversation with you, Sandy. Is there anything else you want to say as we close that just seems significant to you?
I would like to share one thing that I think is just really powerful. I met you in 2017 and began this work. Prior to that, I was in and out of a therapist's office at least once a month, if not twice, to manage my energy, okay? Since meeting you, I have not had to see a counselor. Now, that may not be the case for everyone, but these elements become almost like a counselor or a teacher.
Yeah.
And the depth of that, not only that, and the self-sufficiency that this work brings, the sovereignty, it has made me feel so proud of who I am, and I see it reflected in all of the students that I have studied and trained with.
It's
And
so true.
it
Yeah,
is, it's
yeah,
beautiful. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so touching. So everybody just tune in to Sandy, look at where she is, check out more on that's on the YouTube description. And she's like around and just a powerhouse. And Sandy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time today to come and share your heart, your soul, your essence.
Lisa, thank you for so much. I'm
Uh,
deeply touched and honored.
oh, sweet. All right, everybody, take care.